Hello, everyone. This is Rose Dangerfield at the Columbia Chamber, and you've got lots of folks coming in. I'm excited. These numbers. I love to watch the ticker go up. I mean, it's so exciting for me. But it's 11:01, so I'm going to get this show started because I think honestly we could be here for quite a while. We've got some great panelists. We got lots of information to share with you. So let's just jump right into it. A couple of things, just housekeeping right off the bat. You all are muted, but we will be using the chat box, and you're only muted because we had over 100 people or close to 100 people register. So if everybody was trying to talk all at once, it would be a little bit challenging, but please use the chat feature. If you have a question, we'll get to as many questions as we can. We have 5 panelists today. I'm going to introduce them briefly to you, and then I'm going to do a little bit of a round robin. We have prepared questions for them based on what a lot of our partners have been asking us. And so I'm going to punt a question to each of them, try to get through as many questions as we can, and then we will save some questions for the end. So obviously today we are talking about the state of hospitality and the events industry. That's near and dear to our heart at the Chamber. You all are just super participants of all the events that we do. A lot of people, a lot of names that I see on the call today are also hosting events. So we've got a lot going on there. This COVID era, I'm just frankly tired of the word unprecedented. It is unprecedented. I can't come up with a better word for it, but it's just changing life as we know it for everyone, for every industry. I think one of the best things that I can say for that, for those of us at the Chamber, is we know it's making us do things smarter. We don't maybe know all the answers of how we're going to do those things smarter yet, but we know that we're on the path for that. So I hope that these webinars that we're pulling together for you will help you see that we're going to be smarter about how we move forward. Let me do some introductions. Let's go. We want to get into this. So first, let me thank Ashley Connor, our VP of Development. Ashley pulled this panel together, and she did a fantastic job and prepared me better than I prepare myself. So Ashley, thank you for all your work on that. So introductions. Let's take Matthew Korn first. Matthew, wait, there you go. Matthew is an attorney with Phillips, doing great stuff there, and they represent employers in the areas of employment, labor, and health and safety laws. So thank you, Matthew. There's Adam.
Hello, how you doing? Hey, everybody.
Everybody knows Adam, and if you don't know Adam, look for the only guy I've seen in 5 weeks that has a tie on for a Zoom. So Adam, thank you for always looking so good. But Adam is the owner of Sounds and Images. Many of you, I'm sure, use them. They're an event audio-visual equipment rental, commercial, AV installation, planning, and managing company. That was a mouthful. Let me just say, for us at the Chamber, they're the people that make us look good when we go to events. So Adam, we appreciate that. Next, Dr. Simon Hudson. How about a wave? You okay if I call you Simon, or do you want me to call you Dr. Hudson? Okay, thank you, Simon. He is at U of SC, Hospitality, Retail, and Sports Management. He researches tourism and as a driver of economic development. Dr. Simon has written several, I think you're having something published next week, if I recall correctly, but he's done several studies. I think you began those pre-COVID, but they certainly apply to now. So we're excited to hear about the research that you're doing. Now we have 2 Jasons. Let's move on to Chef Jason. Where are you, Chef Jason?
Right here.
Hey, Chef Jason, we're so glad. Chef Jason Bruner of 1801 Grille, down near, I'm sure you all know, near the Coliseum. Studied the craft all over the world, enjoys culinary delights. I'm looking forward to being able to get there to eat again. Certainly miss that. And we are sad that you had to close. I think you closed in early April 13th, but I think you might have some exciting news for us later today.
That's right.
So we're excited to hear that. And last but not least, one of our favorite is Jason Outman. Hey, Jason, I was looking for you. Sorry, I looked down. I was trying to find you up there. Jason is with Experience SC. We all know the convention center, and is doing great things with marketing Columbia, South Carolina, our destination, with visitors. The economic impact of what Experience SC is in the billions. It's incredible. So, Jason, we can't wait to hear about how you all are adapting to the times we're in. So again, thank you all for doing this for us. And let's get started. Let's get into some of these questions. So my first question is for you, Matthew. And bear with me because I'm just going to read it directly so I don't paraphrase anything.
Sure.
Does FMLA only apply to full-time employees? Many hospitality events servers are temporary employees. What coverage do employers have to provide for temporary employees during the crisis?
Great. Well, thank you. Just first of all, thank you for inviting me to speak today. As Rose mentioned, I'm an attorney with Fisher Phillips in Columbia. I have not always been an attorney. I've had pretty good experience in the hospitality industry. My first job was at McDonald's 2.5 years. I've worked at Quiznos. I've been a waiter at Chili's. So I've spent a lot of time in the hospitality industry. I know the issues that you all deal with. I've been in management roles and employee roles in all those places. So I'm really excited to talk to you all today. It's a good question about the FMLA. And so now I used to just be able to say the FMLA and everybody knew what I was talking about. Now I have to explain that there's two types of FMLA. So what I'm going to call traditional FMLA is the FMLA that existed before COVID. And that's the Family Medical Leave Act. And if you are covered by the FMLA, the traditional FMLA, then you would know. You have 50 or more employees working within one site within a 75-mile radius. That type of FMLA is for people, to care for themselves or to care for a family member with a serious health condition. A lot of times employers use that for maternity leave when somebody's pregnant, or to care for a family member with cancer, because of the employee's own serious health condition. That part applies still. It's still in effect. Even despite COVID, we still have other laws that we're going to have to deal with. And that law is still in effect today. That one applies the same as it did before. So employees have to work for 1,250 hours. They have to have worked for you for 12 months. To be eligible for that if you're above that 50 employee threshold. So that one still's out there. We now have a new type of FMLA. It's called EFMLA, or Emergency FMLA, and that's part of the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. That type of FMLA is very limited. Initially, it was going to be a little bit broader, but Congress really limited this type of new FMLA to the need to go care for a child who is out of school, or their school is closed essentially, or their regular child care provider is unavailable. And so that type of FMLA is a 12-week FMLA program. The first 2 weeks are unpaid, although employees can choose to use the paid sick leave under the Families First Coronavirus Response Act to pay for those first 2 weeks. After that, they have 10 weeks of paid leave, and that pay is 2/3 of their regular rate up to $200 a day. So every week they'd be eligible for $1,000. So over that 10-week period, the aggregate total can be $10,000. And those caps are important because as an employer, if you're under 500 employees, this law applies to you. I'm assuming many hospitality employers in Columbia are under 500 employees, so this will apply. To be eligible for the tax credits, you can't exceed that amount. If you go over the cap and you're more generous to your employees, that's great, but you won't get the tax credit money back. So the criteria, though, is the employee has to be working for you for 30 days. It's not the year, it's not 1,250 hours, it's just 30 days. So people that you just hired will become eligible if you hire them today, 30 days from now, they're eligible for this type of leave, assuming they qualify. They do have to qualify. They have to certify to you that they qualify. One important point, and I'll wrap this up, is that employees that you may have furloughed or laid off, if they worked for you for 30 of the 60 days before you furloughed them, they're eligible when they come back. It's not like when they come back, we restart the 30-day clock. So you do want to make sure you're aware of that. this type of leave is available through December 31st of this year. So as we ramp back up, you're going to get requests for this. It's important that you have a process in place to handle these requests, to have a leave request form. We've provided lots of leave request forms to employers, but you have to have a form where they certify and they provide the information required so that you make sure that you'll get the tax credit dollars back at the end.
That's a lot of information, and thank you for that. And I'll take a moment there just to note that this recording will be on our website a little later. So if you weren't able to take notes quickly enough, you'll be able to go back and see that. So Matthew, thank you for that. Jason Outman, I'm going to punt to you next. Columbia, the rest of the world, obviously, we're seeing a huge decrease in hotel occupancy rates. Organizations under the Experience Columbia umbrella are funded partially by the hospitality tax, which probably everyone here knows. But how, let's relate the two. How will the decline in hotel room nights affect the overall Experience Columbia budget, and then how does that budget affect your ability to market Columbia, South Carolina as a tourism destination? I think Jason just froze. Try hitting your space bar, Jason. Can anybody hear Jason, or is it just me?
No.
Okay, this one I get to tap dance. Ashley, would you mind texting Jason to let him know that he's frozen? And what I will do is I'm going to punt so we can make the best use of our time to Chef Jason. And if, as soon as we, are you there, Jason?
I am. I don't know what happened. I apologize.
That's okay. Well, I'm coming to you next, Chef Jason, but sorry, we had this happen yesterday. I honestly think it's a connectivity issue that may be greater than us. So you're on. Do you need me to repeat that question, or did?
I've got it. I've got the question.
Got it. Okay.
It's a loaded question.
It is a loaded question. There's a lot of pieces to that question.
So, just again, quickly to talk, Experience Columbia SC, we are the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and we are part of the authority, which does include the Convention Center, the Sports Council, and the Visitor Center. I do just want to make a quick clarification. The Convention and Visitors Bureau, we do not receive any hospitality tax from the City of Columbia. That actually is an agreement we have with the city. So we are primarily funded through accommodations tax. Our Sports Council does receive a little bit of hospitality tax from the city. So there is, again, within the organization, there is some H tax, but just to clarify, the CVB itself does not receive any hospitality tax. So, we are, while it's not great numbers, I do want to say we are better off than a little bit compared to the rest of the United States. Our hotels are running about 31% occupancy. I think the national average right now is actually below 20%, with a lot of cities seeing between 10 to 15%. So our makeup within our city, with events, with business travel, with Fort Jackson, with the State House, with the university, we are still seeing some people travel. And then with us having the 3 interstates coming through town, that helps as well, because we are getting overnight guests with our interstate hotels. So we are seeing about 31% occupancy right now. And we actually, week over week, we have actually grown 10% in our occupancy numbers. So we're seeing a slight rebound, obviously not enough to take us out. We normally run 70% occupancy, but again, there is a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, and we are seeing some decent occupancy numbers compared to the rest of the nation. So we are working on a recovery platform. You guys have probably seen what our marketing department has put together, our Overcome campaign, really trying to tie the city together and overcoming, our current struggles, that we are all having. We're excited to hear things like 1801. Sorry, Chef Jason, I'm not going to spoil your announcement. We're excited that some of the restaurants, are seeing some easement on, what they're capable of doing. We're continuing to do a major push. Social media is a good friend of ours, whether it's Instagram, Facebook. the different channels and us continuing to get our message out. Obviously, it's the cheapest way for us to get our message out. So when you talk budget, that's a prime, way for us to be able to market out to our customers, both leisure and meeting planners. And we're really looking at, because we are a July to June fiscal year, we're really trying to look at where are we going to be potentially as we reopen in July 1, which would be our next fiscal year. We are anticipating, a budget cut, but we're looking at some creative ways, whether it's attending, trade shows to take the Columbia message with a higher ROI, knowing those ones that really do give us a good return on our investment. We're also looking at potentially adding virtual site visits that you'll be able to access through our website and with our sales team to be able to actually walk you through Columbia without you actually having to leave your home city. And then, of course, with the marketing team, being able to continue to use all the different messaging through the billboards and, again, social media, trying to find some creative ways to continue to let people know that you can visit Columbia but still maintain social distancing. So whether it's the outdoor activities, we're sure that the attractions are probably going to put, some different things in place in terms of how many people can come in at a time. So are we going to bounce back right away? No, but we are seeing that week to week there is growth. The daily travel index has grown 6.5% nationally and almost 8% for the state of South Carolina, and that is measuring the willingness of people to actually travel, and that sentiment has grown. So we're positive that things are going to continue to get better, and Experience Columbia SC is just sitting right there ready. It'll be a little different with the convention center because we will have to put in, obviously, some different safety measures before we can open the doors and allow meetings to return. And we're expecting more meetings to be hybrid. You'll have, if it's a 100-person meeting, 50 people might be in the convention center, 50 people might still be at home somewhere doing streaming services. So we are expecting some changes there, but we're ready when it's open.
That's great news. And thanks for the positive news. That's some of the first positive news I've heard. So leading the way. We got grit, would you say? Okay, Chef Jason, I am going to go through your question and then you get to share more good news. I'm on a good news kick here, which is my favorite thing to do. Obviously, due to the certainty or the uncertainty of changes in customer needs and perceptions after the pandemic, restaurants may need to find a new way to provide services. Obviously, even if restaurants are open, there's got to be the consumer factor of having confidence to go into a restaurant and sit close to someone or sit next to someone. So can you give us your thoughts on how you think serving someone when they come into your restaurant, how things may need to look, or will they look differently once we get through this pandemic?
Well, yeah, and we're excited. Like we were just talking about just a minute ago, we're going to be opening up probably next week to start to go business again, and even that is a different ballpark than we've ever been in, because we have to do no contact and make sure that we are not only safe for our employees but safe for our customers and all of our guests. Now, when everything gets back to normal, we will try to abide by whatever rules and regulations that they put out there for us. But I'm sure we're going to be able to have people back in the dining room, and I'm sure we'll be able to kind of get back to normal. Now, whether that is still, every other table that we sit, or we allow 25 people in at a time, or things like that, we want to make sure that we are here for the community. We run a lot of different avenues here at 1801. We have an 1801 inside the Colonial Life Arena. We have a concession inside of Williams-Brice. We have a concession inside of the baseball stadium. So all of this is really trying to grasp how we're going to deliver this kind of service to everybody and still be able to have safety for everybody. So we want to make sure that, it's just going to be a new norm. We had a meeting this morning, and we're talking about getting masks for everybody, making sure that we double down on all the gloves that we buy, because there's going to be a lot more usage of that going on. Making sure that we keep our customers safe and that we keep our employees safe is going to be our number one thing here at 1801. Now, opening up next week, we're going to have to figure out how we'll do that. So we'll space out the people that are going to be working together. We'll have some people working in the back. We'll have less employees right now, but we're hoping to get back to the norm. We're hoping that when everything opens up, and hopefully we'll find some way to deal with this with the COVID-19, and we are looking at the positive stuff right now. It was good to hear from Jason and let us know that hotels are back to 30%, and we can't wait till they're back to 70. And we can't wait till people are walking through the door and enjoying the Sunday brunch that we used to do 300, 400 people every Sunday. So we have a lot of people reaching out saying they can't wait to get back. So we can't wait to get back to serve the community. Being here in this kind of environment that we're at, where we do a lot of service for the stadiums and for all this for large gatherings, and we stride on that to make sure that when people start to come back, we want to make sure that they feel safe in the dining room. We want to make sure that they understand that we're going leaps and bounds to make sure that we're safe when we're preparing the food. And everybody's got to eat, so we want to make sure that we can provide that service to the community and make sure that we're putting our best foot forward when we're doing that. So, with everybody coming together, we're starting to see that people are really starting to work together. And that's been the greatest thing that we've seen, is how many people are starting to come together and rely on each other to get this thing done. So we're super excited. We've been closed for about 2 or 3 weeks now, and it was great to call people back. It's great to call all of our salary employees back and say, hey, look, it's time to come back to work. And just to hear them on the other end of those phones saying, we can't wait to come back and really, start to get some of that money flowing through the community. And, people want to go back to work. And we hope that we can provide that little bit of comfort that when you need a burger or some of that black and mahi or a world famous meatloaf, that you can come on down and get that. So we're very excited. We are deep cleaning the whole restaurant right now, and we're going to have some new sanitation stuff that we have to just abide by. And we want to make sure that, like I said, we put our best foot forward, and the community understands that we're going to be having a little take time to get some of this stuff out. And if we are allowed to have so many people in the dining room, we hope to fulfill the needs for the community, and we want to make sure everybody is safe while we're doing that.
That's great news. And the panelists don't know it, but you all have lunch on the chamber at Grille 1801 as soon as we can get there. So we will book
that.
it.
Thank you so much. And
yeah,
we have been a large party facility for so long with our outdoor patio, and we sit about 250 people. So we have the private dining in the back. So we see all kind of business meetings and stuff like that. So we are prepared to try to facilitate that for everybody else to kind of get back to work. So we wish the best for everybody.
Great. That's fantastic. So, and going into lunch, I know we're all hungry now.
Right.
So Simon, I'm up. You're up next. And let me remind everyone, if you have questions, use the chat box. I mean, I've got 3 pages of questions here, but if I really would like to respond to your questions, so please don't hesitate to put them in the chat box. So you do a lot of research. And you have been doing a fair amount of research about crisis communication management and marketing strategies that folks in the tourism sector have been doing. So can you tell us a little bit about that and how consumers are responding to those messages, and identify what you call a crisis-resistant traveler, which is a new term for me. So enlighten us a little with what you're doing there.
Yeah, so I'm up in Canada at the moment, and thanks for the offer of brunch. It might have to be a virtual one. I'm in lockdown up here, and it's kind of interesting for me observing what's gone around the world. I'm looking at it from a global perspective. I've been talking to people in Europe constantly, and down in South Carolina. Certainly things seem to be a lot more relaxed down there, which is, I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, but they wouldn't even dream of talking about opening restaurants up here. So it's kind of interesting. You know, I think what we're going to see is it's going to be a slow, you know, take up in terms of people coming back. I think people are going to be a little bit nervous. What I've been looking at is, as you say, the messages at the moment and for the last month or so, the tone of message has been very important that destinations sending out. And you know, I've been impressed, say, with Jason, Columbia SC, and South Carolina in general. I think you know, it's going to be very important to reassure potential travelers, potential guests that you know, safety and security is that you're taking it on board, to reassure those customers that you know, you're taking the right measures to assure their safety. But I think travelers are going to be very, very nervous. Certainly international travel is going to take a long time to come back, but South Carolina, because it relies so much on domestic tourism, I think is in a sound position. But going back to the messages, I you know, very early on in this crisis, I noticed destinations, you know, some of them were still trying to sell. You know, we had you know, Alaska during when the crisis first broke out, saying, hey, you know, if you can't travel to China, come to Alaska. You know, that soon stopped, and then we started to see more sympathetic, softer messages, reassuring people that, you know, hey, we're still here when you're ready to travel. We've now got destinations like Australia and Auckland, New Zealand, saying, hey, you know, our beautiful scenery has taken time for a breather. We're going to be so much stronger when you come back. And so, you know, and those messages are pretty impressive. But I think it's going to take a lot to convince the international traveler to come back, which is going to impact places like Charleston. Maybe not so much Columbia, but again, you know, business travel. I think it'll be a trickle to start with before people have enough confidence to come back. And then when they do come back, as Chef Jason says, you know, I think the model is going to change. I think, you know, service is going to change. There was a Dutch video that went viral recently of a waitress coming out and throwing the cups and plates onto the table 6 foot away, you know, but, you know, it will have to change. And, you know, I've been involved in the ski industry for a long time, and ski resorts are starting to open up, but they're only opening up 20-30% capacity. We're seeing airlines talking about running at, you know, 75% capacity max. Social distancing measures are going to be very, very common. I think events and festivals are going to take a long time. Any places where people gather, long time to recover. So I'm not saying I'm more pessimistic than the previous panelists, but I think we've got to be realistic. You know, this is going to unfold in different stages, in different destinations, different parts of the world. So I think it's going to take a long time for consumer confidence to come back. Now, what we do know from research, just to finish off, is, as you say, there is what we call a crisis-resistant tourism. They generally tend to be younger. And I think given the way this pandemic has unfolded and what we know about it so far, the younger travelers are going to travel first because they're going to feel less, perhaps, they're taking less of a risk. So we're going to see younger, more adventurous travelers come out. But again, that might not be good if that's not your target market. So again, you may need to start reaching out to those customers now. Again, with similar messages, you know, to reassure them that their safety is in, you know, #1 priority. But they're gonna be the travelers that come out first.
And you have a report coming out soon, is that right?
Well,
or a study?
Yeah, it's of course it's typical. We just came out with a project, and we've been doing this for the last 2 years. It's a workforce development challenges in the hospitality sector in South Carolina. Of course, it came out just as this pandemic broke out. But a lot of the findings are relevant. You know, at that time, you know, a year ago, we were struggling to get employees, as was the industry all over the States and a lot of parts of the world. And I think it's going to be the same when we come out of this pandemic. We're going to have challenges recruiting young people into the industry, getting people into our universities and colleges, studying our subjects. So we're going to have to work very hard together. You know, universities, colleges are going to have to work very hard with the industry to recruit people. One of the things we found in the study was that, you know, the soft skills are lacking. We're not giving our students enough training in soft skills, and nor is the industry. And I think those soft skills, I'm talking about communication skills, understanding empathy, reassurance, service recovery, they're going to become even more important as we come out of this pandemic. So I think that's one thing we need to focus on.
Great, thank you. And if you'll share a link to that, if that's public with Ashley, then we'll be happy to share that with the folks on this call.
I'll send it to her
with
right
our
now.
Partners. Fantastic, thank you. Okay, Adam Vance is just a perfect segue. So I'm going to read this because I want to make sure I get the numbers right. But the Professional Convention Management Association surveyed 1,776 people, with 69% of the respondents identifying as business event professionals. When they were asked, do you anticipate that there will be a pent-up demand to meet face-to-face once the pandemic is behind us, or do you worry that people will still be concerned about close contact and opt not to travel? I think our bigger question there is, from your vantage point and putting together events, what do you see that looking like when we come out on the other side of this?
Well, first, I want to tell Chef Jason, I missed that 1801 melt, by the way. That legit, by the way. So I can't wait to get back to that. But
that's right.
As far as events, we keep discussing this. I think there's two sides of the coin. Are the large events going to come right back out? I don't know. People are pent up, are wanting to get out. We all want to get out. We all want to get back together. The new normal, as they keep saying, I don't know about how close we'll all get. It's going to be that awkward kind of 6-foot wave handshake thing going on. I think we'll lose some of our event work. We'll lose to what's going on right now with the Zoom meetings being very convenient. Yeah, I think it's going to ease back into it, to be blunt. Some people think that we're going to just come out in droves, but I don't think that's the case. I'm very optimistic, though, because we're all in this right now together, as they say, and just absolutely zero is going on at the moment.
So along those lines, and this is a question that came in from one of the participants, can you touch upon some of the clauses that are maybe being changed to cover pandemics in hotels and venue contracts? That force majeure clauses?
Yeah, and like for us in our contracts, we don't have that in there. I can't see going after it. We've had to refund a low 5-figure deposit and many others, and it's all extenuating circumstances, kind of like we had almost 5 years ago with the flood. Are we going to keep a bride's deposit? Absolutely not. And I used to be GM of Party Reflections. It was Palmetto Party Rental before that. So I've got a lot of experience on the rental side of things too, outside of this AV that sound images. But I can see contracts changing, yes, but to what extent? Are you going to risk losing a 10-year client because you go hard after that one deposit and you're not thinking about the long haul? And that has happened. A fellow vendor of ours, I'm working alongside them. After a 25-year relationship, the executive director of the event said that this vendor went after it so hard and in such an unprofessional manner, get a few bucks, so to speak, that they'll no longer do business with them. And I think that's just common sense. So there are certain instances to keep a deposit. Obviously, we do a lot of work leading up to the event, and then for someone just to cancel right before. But extenuating circumstances always have to be looked at this, and this is, as everyone says, unprecedented.
Gotcha. Matthew, do you want to, from a legal perspective, weigh in on those clauses, those force majeure clauses?
Yeah, I can a little bit. That's a little bit outside of my scope. We do, we handle employment matters, so I usually am not, reviewing service agreements.
Gotcha. Okay, fair enough. Well, I have an employment question for you then, or
Sure.
more related.
That
And
sounds
this comes from one of our attendees, is should employers take employee temperatures when the employees return to work?
Yeah, that's a great question. And by the way, I forgot to mention at the beginning, you all probably know one of the attorneys I work with, Haygood Ty. You're probably wondering why Haygood's not here. And Haygood and I have worked together for about 8 years now. So we kind of split up these things, but he is a great guy. And I know you all probably have seen him and know him pretty well. So let me talk about the employee temperatures issue. I think it's a really good question. I know a lot. I mean, I saw weeks ago restaurants in China were, had the temperature gun and were taking customer and employee temperatures. And with employees, because generally speaking, under the Americans with Disabilities Act, taking an employee's temperature would be considered a medical examination. It would not be permitted. The EEOC has provided some guidance and said that during the pandemic that you are permitted to take employee temperatures before they start work, during work. There are a few things I think you want to think about if you're going to do that. One is if you're going to take employee temperatures, I would be looking at can you find one of the guns that you don't have to. The person taking the temperature can be socially distanced from or further away from the person they're taking the temperature of, so that they're not exposing themselves potentially. You obviously don't want to be using the ones that you stick in people's mouths and then using them with other employees. Use some common sense, but there's that. I would also say the other things to think about. One, if you're going to keep a log of employee temperatures, that log is considered a medical record. And hopefully you all know this already, but medical records cannot be kept in employees' personnel file. So if you're going to keep a log, it needs to be kept in a separate file, in a medical records file. Another thing to consider is that employees, a fever is not necessarily indicative of COVID. It could be caused by a lot of different things. And there are people that test positive for COVID that don't have a fever. So you do need to still be looking at other potential risk factors when you do that. And let me just, so that's temperatures. The other thing to address with that is masks, because I think a lot of you are, I watch the news a lot because all I do, for the last 6 weeks, I think all I've done pretty much is advise employers on how to get back to work, how to deal with these COVID issues. Masks is another thing. And so there's two ways you can do that. You can require people to wear masks. But in the hospitality industry, I'm guessing there's going to be some of you that don't want employees to wear masks. And so if you are going to require people to wear masks, I do think the one thing you want to be sure of is if an employee tells you, I can't wear that mask, I have some kind of medical condition that prevents me from wearing a mask, that you need to engage in an interactive process and think through that. If you don't want employees wearing masks, but someone says, hey, I feel more comfortable wearing a mask at work, then you've got to think through it. I think under most circumstances, you can say, no, you're not allowed to wear a mask. But that is, Chef Jason talked about a lot of really good things, and I just want to emphasize that the deep cleaning, the more frequent sanitation, the social distancing, the things you do at your restaurant, if you or at other venue, if you can engage in all those things, then you're more able to tell employees you don't need a mask because we're doing everything else to protect you. And so you got to think through those things. I will mention our firm has provided a ton of information freely available to people online. It's really good information. And one of the things I wanted to direct you to is for the last several days, our firm has spent a lot of time on what we're calling the Beyond the Curve initiative. And the Beyond the Curve initiative is guidance for employers who are getting back to work. What do you need to do? And I will tell you, there's probably 30, 40 pages of FAQs that will answer a ton of questions. I think the link's going to be shared. You can find it. Our entire homepage, FisherPhillips.com, is turned into a COVID-19 resource. So I have done entire 1-hour webinars on Families First Coronavirus Response Act, paid leave, EFMLA. It's not possible for me to discuss all that. I'd love to come back and chat with you more about the paid leave stuff. But your initial questions, a lot of them are going to be answered on our website, freely available. So I just encourage you to reach out and look at that if you have questions on this stuff.
That's great info. We will make sure that we find that website and we'll share that link. And that's great information to share with everyone because there is so much information out there. We find, and we're hearing from our partners, that they're just on overload. They're just totally trying to figure it all out. So to have it all in one place is just incredible. So I'm going to bump for a moment back to Simon and again, get your questions in because I'm going to kind of try to wrap it up here. I have a lot more questions, but we're getting a little close on time. But COVID-19 and students coming back to USC, particularly to the Hospitality, Retail, and Tourism Management program. What are your thoughts about what that looks like for the fall and the spring, knowing that we're just in such an uncertain time?
I think we're gonna have to work very hard to get our numbers back up. I mean, the take up in the tourism hospitality field generally has had plateaued even before COVID-19. You know, we've done very well in other areas, you know, sport and entertainment, etc. But tourism hospitality, I'd say worldwide, has pretty much flattened off in terms of desirability. So we're aware of that. We've been talking to other universities, other colleges, putting strategies in place. I think, as I said earlier, I think we're going to have to work a lot harder with the industry, whether it's Columbia, South Carolina, or you know, nationwide. In terms of identifying, okay, what, especially as we come out of the pandemic, what skills are we looking for? What does the industry want? What do they want from us as a university? Are we training the students? Are we giving them the right skills, the right subjects? So I think we're going to have to take a closer look at that. Certainly our you know, demand will be down, is down, but just like the tourism industry will recover, so will the student numbers. But I think it's going to take time, and I think, as I say, we're going to have to work a lot harder communicating with those students. You know, one thing we found in our study was that people in the business or students looking to come in the business don't see a career path. You know, we're not doing a good enough job of showing them that there is something beyond the front desk job, something beyond working in, you know, Disney's parks or something. So we need to show them that hey, you can do well in this industry. There is a path, there is opportunity. You can work your way up through management, you know, as a lot of people on this panel have done. But students don't see that. They're definitely from our surveys, and people in the hospitality industry themselves don't see that. So even if they're coming into it as a young person, they're looking to move into another field. And again, I've seen that in other places. You know, when I worked in Canada for 10 years, we'd have 50% of our students go out of hospitality, you know, train in hospitality, and then go into the oil business because there was more money. So I think we need to do a better job of not just recruiting, but motivating, keeping, and you know, showing students that there is an opportunity in our business.
On that same thought, and then I'm going to have one kind of wrap-up question, is do you anticipate students will be back for summer session? Has that been announced? If the summer session will be going on?
In terms of face-to-face, no. I mean, and some universities are saying they're not even going to open for the fall. I think at the moment we're opening for the fall, but we've got a lot of summer courses. I've got one starting myself. If anybody wants to join up, it's called Game of Thrones. So it's tourism through the lens of Game of Thrones. But we've got a lot of summer courses, and we're offering. You know, because of course we've got a lot of students who should be on internships right now and can't. So we're offering them the opportunity to take some online courses instead. We're being very creative in terms of internships, working very closely with the industry. But so no face-to-face in the summer, but certainly hoping to be back, engines running in the fall.
Okay, good answer. So I'm going to pivot. And if y'all haven't heard that word, that's the buzzword, I think, of this month is pivot. I literally meant turn to look at Chef Jason and you, Adam, but based on what Simon just talked about and all that's going on, do you have, and I'll ask you, Chef Jason, to answer first, but do you have any concern about there being a shortage of hourly workers, servers, contract workers?
Yes, I mean, when we talk about the university, a lot of our service staff, I mean, 80 to 90% are students. And some of those students have been with us since they were freshmen. And the last 3.5 years that we've been open, this has been their employment. So we will be reaching out. But at this time right now, we're holding all those jobs and waiting for them to come back, and eagerly waiting for them to come back, because not only are they a part of our 1801 family, but the university, we were partnered so well with them, and they're such a big part of our business. And you know, right now we're going to have to reach out, and we're going to have to hire more people and stuff like that. But as soon as the school starts flowing again, I'm trying to stay as positive as I can, and we are very excited. So we have kind of brushed off this year of the school, and like you said, summertime we wasn't expecting anybody coming back, but you know, we're looking at next year already. So we are ready for next year, and we're going to put some posts out there and let everybody know that as soon as school opens up, come on down, and hopefully we are open up and ready to go. And we would love to have all of those employees back and more. So we provide somewhere around 80 servers on the payroll, and that's the majority of students here at USC. So we are excited for next year. Let's just put it like that. So we'll go from there.
Awesome. Good. And Adam, same question for you. Are you concerned about a shortage of hourly workers and your contract folks?
Here at Sound and Images, we're fortunate. We've not laid anyone off. We've not cut any salaries. We've not gotten rid of any benefits. Our employees, our staff, our team, they're past college. We have people here from 24 years old to 50 plus. It's very skilled. I know a lot of people they call, hey, Adam, I just need a microphone. Well, there's a lot more to it than that to make sure that it works well. So it really hasn't affected us. Our part-time employees they're in their 40s, 50s. They used to be on tour with certain bands, and they have other sources of income. So for us at the moment, no, but I do miss working with some of we've got a colleague of Simon's in HRTM that sends us students sometimes that shadow us and things like that. But all in all, right now, it hasn't affected us. I feel for people that it does, though.
Yeah, good stuff. So this just great information. I want to make sure I go back to Jason Outman and see if there's any closing remark that I haven't given you time for. We got through actually a few more questions than I thought we would, which is great. And make sure everyone saw that the HRTM students are still looking for summer internships with flexibility on the job and the number of hours worked. So just wanted to make sure that everyone saw that. But Jason Outman, anything that I didn't cover that you want to make sure we get out to this group?
Yeah, you know, I think it's important that everyone that's on the call understands, you know, Columbia is a destination. Each year, you know, we draw about 14.8 million visitors, you know, to the region. It employs over 21,000 people. It's over a $2 billion economic impact. Tourism is a vital component of our region and the success that our region is going to have. When we look at what's happening and we look at how we're preparing for travel in the future, until, you know, we see some changes, I think what we're going to look at is probably a higher drive market into Columbia, those that can easily drive in. So we need to continue to present the opportunities that they will have, you know, when they come and visit, you know, to our destination. Meeting planners right now, 40% are still sourcing leads. 56% are still planning on holding events between the months of September to December. I think it's going to be up to the facilities to provide them with a comfort level and making sure that, you know, the safety procedures put in place will make the planner and the attendees feel comfortable. But we're a resilient city, and I truly feel that as Real Columbia, you know, bounces back, like our marketing team says, you know, sure, we got grits, but we also have grit. And I truly believe that that we will bounce back in the future. And so I'm looking forward to the time when we can stand in Willie B and cheer on the Gamecocks.
I'm cheering them on just looking at your backdrop. So thank you for that. I think we all needed that. So the rest of the panelists, Matthew, I know that Chief Jason, Chief, you are a chief, but chef. I mean, let me get to Matthew, but I want to make sure you all have a moment just to wrap it up if there's something that you want to cover that we didn't cover. So how about you, Matthew?
No, I mean, there's so much to talk about that
I know.
it's hard to pick. It's hard to pick one thing, but I'm always happy to chat with people. Like I said, go to the resource. I do think, we've had a lot of attorneys spend a lot of time on these FAQs. This information continues to change. The only other thing I think I would say is watch the CDC guidance, watch for the updates. The EEOC, like every week, the USDOL or EEOC are updating their guidance. They've flip-flopped on certain issues that are legally important. So, when you start bringing people back to work, one of the pitfalls will be, denial of paid leave. We have already seen litigation in South Carolina for companies denying paid leave under this brand new law that was just passed a month ago. There's already lawsuits, and you all, that's why you all don't like lawyers, I'm sure. But there are pitfalls here. They're expensive if you get them wrong. So if somebody's requesting paid leave under the law, just make sure you're right before you deny leave. It's cheaper to call somebody, talk to a lawyer for 10 minutes than to get it wrong and then have to litigate it. And so just kind of keep your eyes open. I know there's a ton of information out there. I get that, and it's hard for us to keep up. We're dealing with laws that didn't exist a month ago. And for lawyers, that's really difficult. I can't go look at the cases that have been decided because there's none. So just kind of keep that in mind. Keep your eyes open. Look for issues, and then ask if you have a question.
Okay, thank you. Adam, anything you want to add before we wrap up?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. One other part of our business, and I would say it seems like a shameless plug, but we're a commercial AV installation company. And so if any of the partners out there have any questions, we do a lot of installations in the conference rooms, boardrooms for a lot of this video conferencing, easy connectivity, because that seems to be the way that it's going. So not only do we do a lot of the live events that we see a lot of you out there, but if anyone wants to look me up on Facebook or Instagram, we can help consult. I'm not trying to put a pitch out here or anything, but that seems to be the way that things are going. So we're here to help in that realm too, not just on the event side.
Nope, that's perfect. That's perfect. I'm gonna punt to Simon. Anything you want to wrap up before we close out today's session?
Sure. Just to reiterate what I said earlier, I think Columbia and South Carolina is in a fairly good, strong position to recover from this pandemic, perhaps more than other states, other destinations. And one of the things I've been looking at is effective leadership during this crisis. And just listening to Jason Outman talk, I think you're in good hands. A lot of leadership is about the right messaging, sending out the right tone, being consistent, understanding what's going on. Some news came out of Las Vegas yesterday, which I would say was a little bit not quite the right tone, whether you agree with it or not. So I think effective leadership, effective messaging, and as I say, I think you're in good hands with Columbia SC.
Thank you. And I see several members, Kelly, Dee, Taylor, a few others on your team, Jason. So shout out to them. So Chef Jason, I saved you for the end because I have several orders that I think people want me to put in. A grilled chicken sandwich, maybe. I've got a couple of private messages here saying, here's my order. But I'll let you wrap it up as we're going into noon and probably lunchtime for some folks.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I've got so much information just from this panel today. And we're going to try to move forward. Like I said, we're going to try to open up next week, and we want to make sure that we do it the right way. We want to make sure that we're safe, not only for my employees, but for our customers. And we want to make sure that we kind of gradually step into this. This thing is changing every day. We're all getting the news reports from the governor and the president and everything else. And it's every day that we're seeing new things. So we want to make sure we ease into this, but we also want to make sure that we're providing the service that we've been providing, the great food that we all talk about, the patty melts that people are missing and everything else. So we want to make sure that we're feeding Columbia and the community. You know, everybody's got to eat, so we want to make sure that we're doing it in the best way possible. And we're going to be here at 1801, and we're going to put our best foot forward. We're going to take as many measures as we can to stay safe and to provide a good service and good food to the fine folks here in Columbia that supported us for the last 3 years. And we've been a growing business, and I can't thank the city of Columbia and the outskirts enough for what they've done for us. And hopefully we'll be ready to go next week, and stay looking at the Facebook and the Instagrams and keep up with us. And we hope to be providing that great food for y'all next week. So thank you so much for having us on, and we thank you all.
Thank you. This was a great session. I can't thank everyone enough. Jason, I see you.
Yeah.
I see you. Gotcha.
Yeah. Sorry, Rose.
No,
Just a
you're
quick
good.
comment. I failed to mention, you know, make sure you do visit experiencecolumbiasc.com. We do have a COVID section, and we are tracking restaurants such as Chef Jason's and 1801 Grille to try to provide our residents with, you know, an update on who is opening, who's offering, you know, the takeout and the curbside pickup. And obviously, if we do go to changes where, you know, if they start allowing outdoor dining and stuff like that, we'll make sure our website is updated as well, too. So it is a great resource for people to know what is open.
Good info. And we will, just a reminder, guys, I'll give you a little tip I learned yesterday. You may know it already, but if you're looking at the chat and you see the 3 little dots in the right, if you click that, you can save the chat. So you will have the information in the chat box, so you can save it and you'll have it right now. If you need instant gratification, and I know a lot of us do, but otherwise we will have the recording of this up on our website, on our COVID page as well. So that'll be up. It takes us a little bit of time to get it transitioned, but we'll have it up probably by this afternoon, certainly by in the morning. But again, before we close out, if you hit the 3 little dots in the chat box, you can save the chat right now and go back and read it after you eat lunch. So again, thank you all. We appreciate your time. We will keep bringing these to you. Tomorrow morning at 9, we have Coffee with Carl. It's our 4th, keep me honest, I think it's our 4th iteration of virtual Coffee with Carl Blackstone, our CEO. And you just hear it straight from Carl. We don't have a script. We don't have an agenda. We just hear what Carl has to say. And this week has been a particularly large week for us at the Chamber. So hopefully he'll share some of the exciting things that we've been doing this week. So meanwhile, have a great day, everyone. Stay well.
Thank you. Miss everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.